Happy December, everybody. I'm Meteorologist Joe Martucci. Happy holidays to you. We had Thanksgiving. We are now in the thick of the holiday season. Although recording this on December 2nd, it hasn't really felt like it too much this past week, especially on Monday, we had highs in the 60s and lots of rain and severe weather. But join with me, as we do at the beginning of every month, New Jersey State climatologist and distinguished professor at Rutgers University, Dr. Dave Robinson. Dr. Robinson, thanks for being here on this December morning.
Always enjoy it. Always enjoy it.
Wonderful. So, when we look back at the month of November, a couple of things that stick out to me are not cold things. We were really warm at the beginning of the month, and then we ended the month with a heck of a lot of rain and severe weather and all that other stuff. And, for those of you who are watching the video right now, I kind of have this line of lights across me. I don't know why that is. Let's see if I can shift. I'm going to try to shift. There we go. I think we're good now. I don't have the beautiful lighting like you do, Dr. Robinson.
I have my halo.
Right. See, exactly. I knew when we come to you for almost angelic advice about weather and climate here in New Jersey.
I'm not the Jersey Devil. So you're saying I'm not the Jersey Devil. That's okay.
No, you are not the Jersey Devil. In fact, since I'm in Atlantic County, Jersey Devil's from Leeds Point and Galloway. I'm the Jersey Devil. I got to turn off some more of the lights here. All right, let's talk about the month that was, but I want to start off with November 30th, where we had a heck of a lot of rain during the morning, a heck of a lot of wind during the morning, and then during the afternoon, we had tornado watches, and we had even a tornado warning in Cumberland County. Now, thankfully, there were no tornadoes on the ground here, but there was one in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, not too far away from us here. So, a couple of the stations that we look at in South Jersey, how much rain did actually fall from this?
Yeah, it varied through the region. The driest part from it was actually down in Cape May County, where they had under an inch. But there were a couple of inches elsewhere. South Jersey wasn't the wettest part. Well, Southwest got pretty wet. Northwest Jersey had over 3 inches in some locations, particularly up in the highlands. So South Jersey kind of escaped the heaviest of it because most of your pulse was in the morning, and North Jersey got a pulse in the morning and then got a really pretty vicious, very heavy rains in a squall line that came through shortly after sunset or around sunset. So a 1-2 punch up north, kind of a morning punch with some very strong winds, as you mentioned. Yeah. Down along the South Jersey coast, and the Delaware Bay coast got some strong winds as well.
Yeah. I think Fortescue gusted to 59.
Right.
That lone station right there on the beach in Fortescue. I've seen it before. That one loves to gust, and we see some. When we were looking at events in South Jersey, usually Fortescue's one of the highest ones.
Yeah, the Atlantic City Marina got up to 48.
Yeah,
and I saw some other reports in the area that were in the 40s or into the 50s. So it was a pretty windy month overall. We had a couple of those squally type days, and I think 14 days in November, somewhere in New Jersey, had a gust of 40 miles an hour or greater.
Jeez,
that's pretty impressive. That's more. You get that starting now into the winter. In the summer, it's more isolated in thunderstorms, but for November, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been a very impressive November because of the rain, because of the temperatures. And again, I just want to go back to this tornado watch that we had. It's November 30th, and we're talking about a tornado watch. First of all, tornado watches don't even happen that often in New Jersey, let alone the fall. Now, I know we didn't have any tornadoes, on the ground, thankfully, but how rare are November tornadoes when you go back in history here?
They're pretty rare. I know down in Delaware where there was a tornado just west of Dover, it was the latest on record for the calendar year for a tornado in Delaware. But we've had it back in 1989. It was about the 20th, maybe it was 18th, 19th of November. There were 7 tornadoes in New Jersey, including one that flattened a home just off campus in Piscataway.
Yeah.
That was I think the most tornadoes New Jersey's had on record in one day. It was just a crazy, a very volatile pattern, because the next week on Thanksgiving, we had a half a foot of snow.
Go figure.
So it was, it's when you really turn things upside down in the weather department and you get these strong storms. I mean, this storm gave us temperatures in the 60s. Caribou, Maine, yesterday on December 1st hit 60 degrees. That's northern Maine. That's their warmest winter temperature on record, because we climatologists and meteorologists are lazy. We just call winter December, January, and February.
I forgot to wish everybody a happy climatological winter.
There you go.
Here's your happy climatological winter, everybody.
But that's their warmest temperature on record. Meanwhile, they had measurable snow in northern Alabama and parts of northern Georgia and elsewhere in the South. And that just shows you, when you get such a volatile pattern, a strong storm through the area, a powerful jet stream, that's when you can get your extremes, and you can go from one extreme to the other in relatively short order. So November tornadoes, rare, but they've happened, and they've happened in abundance back there in 1989.
Right. And we actually, if you go back to 1986, which is when these records by the National Weather Service are kept, we've had the second most tornado watches in New Jersey and the third most tornado warnings. So we're going on a 34-year period. So it's not that long, but still, to be in second and third place for those is just pretty impressive. I know Climate Central, a group in Princeton, New Jersey, they do a lot of climate research and communication. They came out with a study, I believe 2 years ago, shows the northeastern United States has the biggest increase in extreme precipitation events. So feeding right into your point about Washington, D.C., which is really just a line due west of Cape May if you draw the map out. But you see those higher, more significant precipitation events, and we're seeing them here too. We're seeing those, big soakers, and we had one even in late November, when really it should be relatively drier out, at least compared to where it is during the summer. Some of our totals, we had Millville at 5.2 inches, AC International at 5.6 inches. But here's another point I want to touch on when it comes to the fall. From what I saw, September, October, and November all were at least in the 85th percentile. So pretty clear near the top for the wettest months on record. So not only do we have a wet November, but a wet fall. And I wanted to just touch upon your thoughts on that, and want to know, A, what drove this pattern, and B, was this something we were seeing on a larger scale basis in New Jersey as well?
Yeah, no, that's great analysis of what went on in the fall. We don't have all our fall numbers together yet, but I can tell you Southeast Jersey was the wettest part of the state. Northwest Jersey, precipitation was actually below average. They kind of welcomed the 2 to 3 inches of rain they had the other day, because the streams were starting to fall below normal. Groundwater was down a little bit. The reservoirs needed some replenishing. So sometimes it's a hit and miss scenario. And as we know, New England suffered a pretty good drought this summer. By good, I mean moderate drought, even bordering on severe a few times. So we were very fortunate that Faye came along in July and Isaias in early August, not from the winds and the damage that wrought, and even the tornado down in Cape May County, but the rains they brought along. And that kind of continued on into the fall, with some remnants of multiple tropical systems delivering moisture up the coast. And you do have to remember, temperatures have been above normal, so the ocean waters have been above normal. And again, as you said, if you have a trigger to get it to rain, you have to have that trigger. You're working with more moisture in the atmosphere, so you're going to get those excessive rains. So is it a trend? Not necessarily so in the precip department, but certainly the winner for precip this fall was you're down in Southeast Jersey.
Yeah. And go back to water temperatures. I remember at the marina in Atlantic City, it was 80 degrees, the water temperature, 80 degrees. Now I'm not, I'm one of those people, I really can't get in until about the middle of July. Too cold for me, in Memorial Day weekend in June. 80's nice. I'll take it. That's cool with me. I like Miami water. I'm a Miami beach guy. If we could transplant like just the water of Miami just offshore here and leave everything else, I think that would be good with me.
That would be a very interesting qualifying exam question for
Would it?
climate or meteorologist course. Keep us here and just change the water temperatures off
Right.
the coast. What might be the consequences?
Oh,
I love scenarios like that.
Well,
Great exam questions. Great exam questions.
all right. Well, maybe we'll have to do our own exam for all the listeners here. Maybe they'll fill out the weather exam, since most of these people here, they live, breathe, love weather, and that's who we like to talk to here. So we're going to come back in just a little bit, and on the other side, we're going to talk all about temperatures. We'll also touch a little bit on fall foliage and everyone's favorite, winter. This is Something in the Air podcast. Hey everyone, I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci at the Press of Atlantic City. Every time I do a talk, I say, if I could take this job again, I'd take it 10 times out of 10. I'm the only meteorologist at a newspaper in New Jersey. And down here in southeastern New Jersey, you all know weather matters more. Whether it's for farming, it's for the beach, or for your business. Weather plays a huge role here, and I'm making sure I'm doing things that cater to you. Whether it's talking about if your street's gonna have coastal flooding, or whether you need the air conditioner on at night at the shore. We're the only place that's doing a mainland and shore 7-day forecast. We're the only ones that are talking about whether your street is going to have coastal flooding. And that's why I want to keep this going. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Something in the Air podcast brought to you by the Press of Atlantic City. Join with me, as we do at the beginning of every month, New Jersey State Climatologist, Dr. Dave Robinson. Dr. Robinson, we're going to switch from all this wet weather into the temperatures here. And I think most people liked what happened at the beginning of the month. We were not only warm, record-breaking warm, and heck, I mean, it felt almost like Labor Day weekend with the temperatures here in South Jersey. So let's just zoom out and talk about what we had month-wise. We were 4.2 degrees above average at Atlantic City International Airport, 5 degrees above average at Atlantic City Marina. Now, I believe this was last month, maybe it was 2 months ago, we were talking about period of record is key, because if you're looking at a 30-year time span, it doesn't mean as much as a 120-year time span. So this is what I thought was interesting. At Atlantic City International Airport, again, 4.2 degrees above average. It was the 6th warmest in history. Records go back to the 1940s. At Atlantic City Marina, which pretty much goes back to when they first put a shovel in the ground in Atlantic City, back to the 1870s, it was the 2nd warmest on record there. So it was actually more impressive at the marina than it was at the airport. Usually you just see that number, that sexier number, that 1st or 2nd place at the airport instead of the marina. So anyway, that was just what I found interesting about it. But, when we're looking at the region here, were we all that much above average?
Yeah. Let me report that. And I've got an idea why it was warmer at the marina, but
let's talk about it.
Think about that. But first, South Jersey as a whole, going from about Monmouth, Mercer, Middlesex County south, and the coastal areas are a slightly separate division. The average was 4.3 degrees above normal. Okay. Very close to the airport. That came in tied with 2006 as the 2nd warmest November on record, going back to 1895. Mm-hmm. It was only topped 0.2 of a degree higher in November of 2015. And as I mentioned earlier, 7 of the 9 warmest Novembers in South Jersey have occurred since 2001. But what was interesting about it this month, and we've talked about this before, how the minimum temperatures are rising at a faster rate than the maximum temperatures with climate change. That's not the case this month.
You got it. Yep.
The maximum temperature ranked for South Jersey ranked 2nd warmest, but the minimum temperature only ranked 12th. Mind you, it's 12th warmest. That's 12 out of 126, but only 12th warmest.
Yeah.
And then think about the marina versus inland, and think about that hot, warm spell and the days around it. It didn't rain. Mm-hmm. It was clear. Yep. Temperatures at night dropped down, But during the day, the remaining sunlight and a flow from the south warmed it up. But along the coast, what's off to the east?
Oh, can I guess?
Go ahead.
The Atlantic Ocean.
And there you go. The ocean stayed warm, and that kept the nighttime temperatures up. Both the marina and the airport had high daytime temperatures with some southerly flow. There was actually a little bit of a sea breeze action a few times. But generally, that's why, I don't have all the proof for this, but that explains to me why the marina was warmer, because the days were warm and the night stayed warm because the water was still above average. Inland, your days warmed up, but out there in the Pinelands, it can really cool off at night, especially when the air is dry. And
I agree with you 100%. And
dry.
As somebody who was on the mainland for all of those days, it wasn't like you were waking up in the morning. It was like, hey, it's t-shirt weather out. Yeah, you still needed the jacket, but once you got to about 9 o'clock, I mean, it was all bets are off at that point. You just kept warming up. So it was, these chilly, big swings in temperatures. And I wish I had the number on me, but I believe Millville, and records go back to the 1940s there, they had the second highest 2-hour jump in temperatures during November. That's really in the weeds. But once the sun got going, it really warmed things up. So I'm just a nerd for that kind of stuff. But just to prove your point, at Atlantic City Marina, the highs were 5 degrees above average for the month, and the lows were 6 degrees above average for the month. At the airport on the mainland, highs were 6 degrees above average, 2 degrees above average for our low temperatures. So usually when we've been talking for as long as we've been talking, we're saying, oh, it's the low temperatures. Like you said, low temperatures are driving it. That wasn't the case. You might have wanted your heat on in the morning and then turned it off and, let the breeze roll on in. In fact, I remember at my apartment one day, my temperature just inside was 75 inside. That's almost air conditioning for me. So I'll just talk about that record warm stretch. It's from the 5th to the 11th. It was the longest streak of 70-degree or greater high temperatures on record at the airport. Again, they go back to the 1940s. First time since 2001 that we had 4 consecutive record high temperatures in a row. We were so close to 5, so close. And I think you would have gone back to the 80s for that. And then I actually did a little calculation here. During that 6-day stretch, felt more like Florida than South Jersey. Felt more like Tallahassee. Who needs to go to Florida? Why do we have snowbirds? We can stay right here. I don't get it.
It was a remarkable stretch. I mean, you hit 80 in New Brunswick, where we have data back well over a century.
Yeah.
It was the latest that the 80-degree mark had ever been hit. Again, in terms of records, with 4 days in a row with record highs. That had only been done twice before, and only once has there been a run higher. There was a 6-day run. That's not November. That's any time of the year.
Yeah.
String 4 records in a row. Now, of course, to string 4 records in a row, if you only have a couple decades of records, that's much easier than when you have over a century of records. Yeah. It's really a challenge.
Yeah.
Usually our warmest days are associated with a strong southerly flow, often ahead of a cold front, as you know. And you really pump it up for a day, maybe 2. But for it to persist for 4 days in a row with record highs, not just warmth, but record warmth, is really, really impressive.
And the best part was people took advantage. I remember looking at webcams on the Ocean City Boardwalk. There were a lot of people. I believe most were socially distant. I can't say, I don't remember exactly, but there were a lot of people on the boardwalk, and there were people on the beach, and not just oh, I'm in my jacket sitting on the beach. There were people in shorts and a t-shirt with a beach chair on the sand in early November. The latest I've ever done that comfortably, and I remember this was 2013. Oh, maybe it wasn't 14. I don't know. It was October 9th, though, and it was 82 degrees. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. I'm on the beach. It's warm. This is November. Yeah. So I get really worked up about this. It was so cool. No pun intended. To see that. Did you enjoy the weather, that stretch?
Well, that's very remarkable. Yeah, that's warm Sunday. I was walking the Delaware Raritan towpath,
Yeah.
canal towpath, with a colleague who was in to meet his new granddaughter from Oregon State University,
Okay.
where
Yeah.
he usually impresses me with the incredible hikes he takes and the generally mild conditions out there. They don't get the strong winter conditions
Right.
we had. They suffered through smoke this summer.
Yeah.
And he was all excited. He's a climatologist,
Yeah.
excited. Are we at a record? Is it a record? So when I texted him that evening and said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it was a record," he
Yeah.
was like, "Yes, yes, I'm here on the East Coast, and we've got record warmth."
Hopefully, we're not the only people that get very excited about record temperatures. I don't know if we're preaching to the choir or not. I don't know what we're doing, but
I
it
can
is
tell you from
very
coast,
impressive.
at least that day, from coast to coast, there was someone
Yeah, right.
impressed.
People were happy all across from coast to coast, like you said. So it was a nationwide. It swept the nation. Those
But it's a little disconcerting too. Let's face it. Let's get serious about it. This is it a sign of global warming? One excessive heat wave isn't a heat wave, if you'd call it, for
Yeah.
November. It's not, but it's indicative of what we've seen. And here already in our conversation, we've talked about how Novembers are getting warmer, and most of the warm Novembers have been in this century. Then we look for Jersey. If we look back at the last 12 months, since last December onward, 6 of the 12 months have ranked among the top 9 for warmth. Again, I remind you, that's out of 126 years. Half of the months in the last year have ranked in the top 10, the top 9, and 3 of those have been in the top 5.
Yeah.
This is just not one rare occurrence. This isn't one odd month out. This is almost literally month after month. We had 10 above normal months of the last 12, but April and May were actually below average. And that was the first time we'd had consecutive below average months in about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the story really gets told. And we have to be concerned about our changing climate and its impact on agriculture and its impacts on aquaculture and our marine life, and on and on and on we could go. I know we don't have time to do it. So, appreciate these, enjoy them. But if you're a little uncomfortable because of them, there's kind of good reason.
Right. Yeah, I would say that I felt a little uncomfortable celebrating the beach weather, during November, because there will be more of that to come. And it's not going to happen, every year, but it will happen, more frequently. All right, let's get out of temperatures. Let's talk about full foliage real quick. For us here in South Jersey, we usually peak in early November. I had to say, I thought fall foliage was pretty darn good. I thought we ended up pretty okay. We talked about it during August and September. The conditions were right during the growing season. During September, we had, relatively cooler nights. We had the dry weather. And we didn't have any huge storms to knock down a lot of those leaves, at least early in the month. What'd you think?
Ditto. I agree. The recipe was there for a good season, and I think it produced.
Yeah.
I didn't get out and about an awful lot to see it, but from what I saw in my limited travels, it was a good season. And I hope people did take advantage of that and get outside
Yeah.
where it's safer these days,
Yeah.
and see the foliage, because they were treated to a pretty good season.
Yeah, I think it was a great time for good fall foliage. I will definitely say
absolutely. And we should be grateful for that. The timing really was good.
absolutely. All right, let's end off with winter. You are the snow king of the world. Are you the king of all snow in the world, or is it just North America? How far do we want to make this?
Oh, no. We have our global snow lab.
All right. Well, the king of the snow globe. King of the snow globe.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you staked me, and
Well, you have the halo. You have the halo above you. Does that
right.
turn into a crown at some point?
But no dandruff there.
No dandruff. Right. Yes, of course. Of course. All right. So, in charge of the global snow lab, you're pretty much monitoring all the snow across the globe. How how much snow, this is December 2nd recording, how much snow have we had across the globe? And, given that we have what could be a strong La Nina, which is colder waters off the equatorial Pacific, in short, usually means a milder and less snowy winter for us. But just kind of combine the La Nina with the snow that we've seen so far. What can you tell us, at least for the month of December? We won't have you go all the way out into winter, but the month of December here.
Yeah, I won't. I'll quickly go to the northern hemisphere. In North America, there was more snow cover on the ground in October than any of the last 50 years. But it fell off dramatically in November, and we were below average with snow extent. Meanwhile, over in Eurasia, a little above normal. But put it all together, fall snow cover was above average across northern hemisphere. Of course, that's more the higher middle latitudes in the polar regions.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. It's been a trend we've seen the last 10 years or so, where we have enough cold air come in during the fall season, and we're getting more moisture delivered to these regions and producing more snow at a time that the planet's warming. So it's real interesting research study. Now, looking in this neck of the woods, we had that measurable snow event in North Jersey in October, but no measurable snow in New Jersey in November. But looking ahead, this is a pretty strong La Nina event in the tropical Pacific going on right now. And I looked at the last 7 strong La Nina events going back 70 years, and 6 of the 7 had below average snowfall for the winter season, for the snow season.
Right.
One that didn't was the last one in 2010, 2011, that winter, where we had well above average snowfall.
Yeah.
So I remember that year I was saying, oh my goodness, 6 of the last 6 below average. You usually don't even see that in the climate world, 100% of this. So of course that winter had above normal.
It righted itself.
But if I was to look at this one and look at the last 7, I'd say the odds greatly favor below average snow, but it's probabilities. It's not a take to the bank, which we saw back in 2010, 11. I can't tell you when it's going to snow. People who put out these winter forecasts and say we're going to have a blizzard in February. Well, that's when we have our most snow. So that's not a forecast. That's just looking at climatology. So I can't tell you when it's going to snow. I can tell you, looking ahead the next 2 weeks or so, we're starting off the month seasonably cold, maybe even a little on the chilly side. But there's evidence come mid-month, the whole continent's going to warm up. Which isn't exactly La Nina like. The La Ninas tend to be very warm along the southern states and kind of up the East Coast. They're cold in the northern plains and the Northwest. And we don't see that pattern unfolding right now. But over the course of the winter, more likely than not, that's how things will wrap up. Precip-wise, dry in the south, and kind of wet in the northern plains and snowy, and in the Ohio Valley. Just like the track this last storm took, it went up through the Ohio Valley. It still brought a lot of moisture into us, in part because it's still pretty warm ocean temperature off the coast. So not great for snow. Precip, I'd say somewhere middle range, plus or minus some, not extremely wet, not extremely dry. And temperatures probably average to above average.
Yeah, and you made a good point. I was going to make the same, which was that storm track that we had on Monday where it kind of cut into the Ohio Valley. Probably going to get used to that as we go over throughout the winter. So we'll be on that warmer right side of the storm. So expect some more heavy rain, maybe a couple severe thunderstorm watches in our winter months. We'll see. And if we try to get some snow out of it, I think our best chances would be at the very beginning of that storm, if it starts out cold, or at the very end of that storm as the colder air comes through. Whether or not we see like the one big one where it's all snow, that remains to be seen. So with that, we are going to wrap it on up here. We had a really jam-packed, fun-filled podcast here for the month. We will be back with you at the end of December. Can we do top 10 weather events of the year? Can we do a little compare and contrast? I know you usually do one.
I've got to start on that one.
Got to start on it. Perfect. So we'll do that. We'll do our recap of the month of December. I'll leave the floor to you as we wrap up our last month of the year, which feels like a decade at this point.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would be too sad to see this year. And there have been some good points, I hope, for most. But yeah, it's been a very challenging year. And let's hope we finish it up with some modest weather and nothing of an extreme nature.
Agreed. We'll hope for calm seas and calm skies ahead as we go into December. So happy holidays, everybody. We're going to be back with you on December the 16th. I have a guest lined up, but I need to confirm it, so I'm not going to tell you guys yet. But it should be something winter weather related, that's for sure. So we will wrap it up. We'll be back with you at the middle of the month. Until then, again, happy holidays, stay safe. And this is the Something in the Air podcast.